Hey guys, Sublord here, back in with another action figure review. Today we'll be taking a look at probably the weakest entry, we'll say, into the DC Multiverse Teen Titans wave, and that is, of course, going to be none other than the Arsenal. Is it Speedy? Is it Red Arrow? Is it all three of them? Because Arsenal was a separate character in the CW series, don't you know? That said, this of course brought to us by the fine folks over at McFarlane Toys. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves with references to other names of Green Arrow apprentices, whatever, why don't we cut right to the chase and get to the meat and taters of this review and take a look-see at all Arsenal has to offer in terms of accessories. Starting off with the collectible trading card. Cool, I guess. Probably would be handy if I had my reader read that, but I don't know. We still got a lot of DC Multiverse to get through, so to save us all some time, I'm going to refrain from doing that for a while. That said, he of course comes with his bow. I imagine they reused this on that DC Comics digital Green Arrow figure that just came out. Be surprised if they gave him his own bow, but it's a fine bow sculpt. I think the string's a little thick though, and it was pretty warped when I got it. It's okay now, but it's still a little whatever. And we also have his quiver of arrows, which this thing sucks. This thing's terrible. What are these? What the heck is this? This doesn't even fill it. It's like too thick. It should have been like half as thick. That's what she said. I just don't know what's going on there. That is a lame arse excuse for a quiver. But it does peg onto his back. Nothing good it'll do you, because it does kind of fall out. That said, he does also have the hockey puck display stand. We're used to seeing with all McFarlane Toys releases. And yeah, taking a closer look at him, he's got like the biggest skater punk head sculpt I've ever seen. He's got this freaking I just sniffed a fart face, and then he's got the backwards baseball cap. He almost looks kind of hunchback, the way his neck is jutted forward. And I know I'm kind of for that when it comes to anatomy. I like some muscle on my superheroes, but this is just supposed to be like a teenager, right? Shouldn't be that buff on his back. But he is, apparently. You can also see the peg hole there. I'm hoping the Green Arrow figure coming out isn't like this body mold, because it's not the best. The articulation, as we look at that here, you can see his head will rotate just fine, but looking up, very limited. Looking down, not too bad, and then the tilt's okay. Shoulders will go up, back down, they'll rotate around. Get a little bit of that cap action, but not much. He's got a bicep swivel, double elbow. Then he does have the ball hinge wrists, but again, you're going to be pretty hindered. Well, actually, no, he doesn't have gauntlets in the way. Never mind. Never mind. I'm just a nincompoop and got my facts wrong there. But it does rotate, hinge, and then rotate in the wrist. I will tell you, maybe heat the wrists on this guy. They're a little tight. And as far as the torso goes, he can crunch forward, barely any. Crunch back, I guess okay. And then it does also rotate up here, and then it does tilt. So you get some range there. Then he does have a waist twist that does all the same bells and whistles as the diaphragm. And as far as the hips go, they can kick out, kick back down, but you see he doesn't have, his legs don't go in all the way. They kind of stick out a bit. It's kind of weird. But he will kick forward and back if you want. Okay, I guess. It kind of goes out to the side. And I think he does have like little slits on his diaper there to allow the leg to kick forward, but it doesn't give you a lot. It's not enough to write home about, really. That or that's just the texture of the suit. That said, thigh cut, he got a little bit, but it's mostly in. Then he does have double knee. Which again, not really a lot of Cliffs of Dover on this wave. And then he does have the ball hinge ankles that will rotate, hinge, pivot, and of course he's got the toe joint. So a pretty good tread on his shoes. So yeah, not the best action figure, we'll say. He's pretty stiff as far as getting lots of range goes. I don't know why that is. It Seems like he'd be a very agile character considering he is a archer after all. But getting this peg on his back here. Oh, I ended up just right. There you go. And you pretty much want to leave it straight. If you put it crooked, it's going to fall off. So, yeah, not the best, unfortunately. But they can't all be winners, can they? There's got to be at least one figure in a wave. But, you know, it'd be nice if there wasn't. I'm not saying that that has to be a requirement for a collect a build a figure, whatever you want to call it, wave. So, with that being said, it's time now that we move right along and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here is good old Arsenal, alongside a couple other figures from this Teen Titans wave. We have Donna Troy, the apprentice, sidekick, protege, potential daughter of Wonder Woman. Alright, that's enough of that. Now, of course, we have Nightwing, the first figure we looked at from this wave. I think he scales quite well with these two, if I do say so myself. Getting them out of the way, though. Make room for our two regulars, the Mythic Legions, or the Manibelith. There. As much as I'm not a fan of the Mythic Legions, bows and arrows and all that jazz either, I will say McFarlane Toys definitely needs to step up their bow and arrow game, to say the very least. So we also have the infamous Elven Spawn, speaking of McFarlane Toys, who, as usual, powers over everyone. So, with that being said, it's time now that we wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and out of all of the figures from this Teen Titans wave, I have to say the good old Arsenal here is probably the weakest, mostly because the super jank quiver and arrow setup on his back, I mean, gosh darn thing barely stays in. And then we have the bow, which is a good sculpt, but I feel like the string is a tad too thick and gets warped super easily. So, yeah, not the greatest, but not the worst either. If we're talking about DC Multiverse as a whole, Arsenal is probably closer to average as opposed to just bad, but in comparison to the rest of the figures in this wave, yeah, he is not the greatest. So, with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this review. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.